Hey, what is going on, guys? Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Welcome to the AV Experience Podcast. How's everybody's week, man? Ryan, what's going on, buddy?
Yesterday was busy.
Oh, yeah?
What did I do? I always have to sit here and think about what I
Right.
did every week. Every week. I can't remember the day before.
Mhm.
We went to the farmstead today, which is like my daughter got to feed goats and
Nice.
see the bison and pet the cows and all that kind of stuff. So we did that.
Mhm.
Mowed the yard. Yesterday was a soccer game, and in the afternoon, what did we do before that? We went to Top Golf. You guys
Oh,
have
there
Top
you go.
Golf in Florida, right?
Yeah, we have
So
them.
we went to Top Golf, then we went out to lunch for her uncle's birthday, then we went to the soccer game, then we went to her aunt's house
Mhm.
and did some shooting.
Nice. What'd you shoot?
What did we shoot? So we had a bunch of different stuff. Brought all
Mhm.
my stuff. So R700 and 6.5 Creedmoor, Barrett MRAD in 338, a couple shotguns, Beretta 1301,
Man, you got all
Mossberg
kinds of toys.
590 Supernova, and then what else was out there? A couple Mosin Nagants and SKS. Uh, he had a built 223, so
Mhm.
we had a bunch of different stuff. Could only shoot out to 100, 150 yards, so it was just kind of just letting people shoot different things because
Sure.
they have cows on the land, and the cows were in the way of the longer range stuff, so we didn't really have the
Right.
ability to do that. But
Heck yeah, man.
what'd you do?
Yesterday, honestly, I don't know. Today, got to keep my grandson. Hadn't seen him in 2 weeks. So that was super cool. Been playing a little bit of the new Call of Duty in the
What's that?
theater room. I do need to figure out how to enable the what do you call it? Like load latency for gaming. And I want to create like a custom um
You're not gaming through Envy, are you?
no,
Okay.
no. Yeah, I knew better than that.
Okay.
But in the NZ8, so I've been playing with that, made a video just recently. It looks great. So I'm going to address that in the show. Don't let me forget that because there's something I probably need to say on that. But yeah, there's an option in there to enable like low latency. It's supposed to turn off probably
You
some
can't turn it
processing.
on unless there's other settings that are set correctly.
Okay, so that's what I'm
Otherwise, it's
thinking.
grayed out.
Yeah, so I don't know what's enabled that is preventing that. So I need to figure that part out.
It's in the manual. They specify what can be on and what
Okay,
has to be off.
I
Just
just need to
take a
look
look
at
at the
that
manual.
setting.
Yep,
Okay, cool.
it's there.
That makes sense. So yeah, so I was first time I had a chance to go through Audio Advice's settings, like they're recommended, and so I'm like, let me just do a side by side comparison. So I filmed some content that JVC sent me on a disc, which is really cool. Nice of them. Appreciate those guys. And it's 4K. I had to disable their audio because I uploaded it just to check and even use like Shazam to see if it recognized the song, and boom, immediately. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to do that. So I put my own royalty free music with it and just kind of played through two of the clips. They have, I think, 4 different segments on that disc. And so I did 2 different locations. One's like 4 minutes, one's, I think, 2 minutes. And the first one is definitely bright, like out of the box setting. It looks good. But to me, the highlights are definitely blown out. There's not a lot of depth there. We're losing some of the detail, like in the clouds and things like that.
Did you
And
take Envy out of the equation for this?
Envy's totally out of the yeah, yeah. This
Good
is
man.
just I just wanted to see what does JVC bring to the table. And then I wanted to add the next step would be Audio Advice's settings. So when I added all their settings, went through, made all the adjustments, um, I got more detail. I got more contrast. So I just saw more detail, especially like there's certain dark scenes that there's rocks like on like I guess a building structure. And so the camera's panning by it. So I saw more detail there, especially in the clouds. Definitely saw more detail there. But when I uploaded the video, I didn't even think about this. I knew when I was recording, I'm looking at it going, man, And then I looked at it while I was editing, and in my brain, I'm going, I remember seeing more detail in those dark areas than what is showing on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking my camera just doesn't have enough dynamic range to be able to capture the brightness up here, maybe in the clouds, and then the darkest areas over here. So in a way, it's kind of, yeah, see, like this right here, Eddie said the audio device settings look like the shadows crushed. So it's definitely darker, but my eyes visually, like looking at it, I didn't feel like it was like, oh my gosh, like I've lost everything.
It's hard to tell unless you put them side by side.
It is side by side, but it's what I'm saying is my eyes, what I'm seeing in those dark areas.
How can you have two?
You film it twice. You film it
Oh,
once.
I meant like without doing it through a camera. Because you're just adding variables when you go through a
Yeah,
camera.
well, that's the thing. You got YouTube compression.
Dangerous.
Oh, appreciate it, man. Perfect dark. We try. We have some fun.
You're all here to see him, not me. I'm just the
whatever.
bald-headed man that he tolerates.
Yeah. So a lot of people. So I don't know. Let me know in the chat. I mean, do I need to make another video, kind of explaining what I'm seeing, and like even as I'm looking at it in real world content? So I'm not real sure like how best to do that, or if you just got to take my word for it.
Well, supposedly we're doing another projector comparison here soon, so maybe we can use that as a opportunity to do it.
Sure. Yeah, the picture of the moon at the end looked awesome. So yeah, had a lot of great feedback. But that was fun.
This is a video you already released.
So yeah, I literally just uploaded it today at noon. So I put 2 images side by side, just overlaid them, scooted them over. What I ended up doing is cropping kind of like a quarter of the right side, a quarter of the left side on both of them, so that the middle section was what was seen. Because usually that's what the main subject is. Sometimes a llama gets cut off or whatever, but
the llama,
the
humanity.
I know the sailboat was coming in and it didn't quite get into frame, but you know, it ended up doing pretty good. So, but yeah, so that was a fun video. But I like. So one thing that's nice, I guess, about calibration and even with settings, just like with audio, there's like the recommended settings, but then you also, as the owner, have the ability to tweak it like you want it. So there are definitely, I was even asking Ryan, I was asking Tony, I was asking Jonathan. There are a lot of things in the video world that I'm just not familiar with. I mean, there was HDR frame adapt, but there's 3 options. There's 1, 2, and 3. I'm like, well, I don't know what the difference. So in my brain, I'm thinking, oh, go with the middle. You know, maybe like one is easy, one is middle, and one is strong. And that's not really what it does. So they're like, do 1 or 3, but don't do 2.
Don't do 2. Yeah, they're
but my brain, the logic kind of would have led me on the wrong direction.
The sales pitch, right? Yeah. Got a good, better, best. You're going to pick the middle.
Get in the middle. I've always been the middle of the road. I don't want the cheapest. I don't want the most expensive. One in the middle is probably going to serve my needs.
JVC's selling to Michael through their HDR tone mapping practices.
Yeah, frame adapt number 2 apparently is not the setting. And then I looked online and other people were saying the same thing. They're like, yeah.
You had to fact check us?
Yeah. I want to make sure you're legit, man. You know your stuff. But yeah, I'm loving the image that I'm getting out of it. And I love how much brighter it is. And even though you guys dogged me, well, I say you guys, some people dogged me.
We're going to find out this week.
Let me take that back. They didn't dog me. They were just like, there's no way you're getting those kind of nit values. And so I'm like, okay, I was calculating based on a 1.0 gain screen, and apparently it's a 0.8. Okay, you do the math. You figure it out. I gave you the lux, so you could have done the math. But anyway, and I don't care how much nits it produces. I just wanted to verify visually. Okay, I measured this before, I measured it after. Yep, the number increased. Cool. It's not just a subjective, I think this thing is brighter. I physically was able to see it was brighter. So, but yeah, man. So I'm really enjoying that. And absolutely, Finster. Bottom line is I'm getting more than before. And that's really what that video was about. It wasn't to boast about, hey, I'm getting this many nits, because I could care less about that. I'm not, trying to pull out a measuring stick by any means. But yeah, man, super cool. Let me say hi to some folks in the chat. I see a super chat already, so appreciate that. CJV, good to see you. Finster, Nicholas, Bruce, Miles, Chris is in the house. Who else we got? SRW1000, always hanging out with us. Appreciate you. Bruce, good to see you. Howard, Medieval, Andrew, lots of folks. Man, all the way down. Gene, Brian, you're late to the party, man. He's camping in Tennessee with 1-bar 4G. Hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. That's
Make it
awesome.
work.
Super quick update. My daughter and her boyfriend have been trekking through the Appalachian Trail, 2,200 miles. And I think they're about 800 miles away from being back home. So, man, that's crazy. 5 to 6 months of their life spent out in the wilderness. Of course, they stay at some hostels and they stay sometimes at hotels. But so it's been pretty wild. Great journey, man. We get to see updates from them quite often, which that was just my only concern, is that it might be a week that I don't hear from her. And is she doing all right and everything? And is she living, didn't get eaten by a bear? So, but she's FaceTiming us on the top of a mountain going, Dad, check this out. This is amazing. And I'm just like, baby girl, I'm so proud of you. I mean, that's like amazing just to be able to have that much fortitude to hike 2,200 stinking miles. She sent me a picture the other day and her shoes are totally blown out on the side. So I'm like, how much you need? I sent her some money, bought her some new shoes. Them dang shoes are expensive, man. They're like almost $200, and I think they'll go through probably 4 pairs, something like that throughout the trek. But yeah, man. So yeah, good for the soul being out in the bush for sure. It's not crazy. It's awesome. Yeah. All right, man. Anything else before we jump into questions? Guys, if you got questions, definitely drop those in the chat. We'll be glad to answer those as much as we can.
I've already started throwing them.
We're not going to go super, super long tonight. I know Ryan's got an early flight. He's been doing a lot of traveling, doing a lot of calibrating. He's had events. Next week, he's going to be here near me. So we're going to meet up at the Orlando Cedia Tech Summit. So it's kind of like bring Cedia to Florida for people that couldn't make it out there.
Kind of. Don't get the expectation that it's like Cedia. It's much smaller.
No, I mean, we're talking like 200 attendees versus 20,000 attendees. And
you don't really have booths. You have tables and
yeah. I mean, it's just really small. It gives the it gives the dealers and integrators an opportunity to meet with the brands, to hear in person about their new products and things like that without the big convention style. It's in a hotel and pretty much one big room.
Yep.
So, but yeah, man, so we're gonna have some fun with that, hang out. We're gonna come back to my house. We got time. We're gonna cook on the Unikaru. Maybe do that on Friday morning. Cook us a homemade pizza
for breakfast, baby.
Yeah, and then we'll calibrate my projector, and then I'll drive him back to Orlando. And dude, Ryan should sell his resting face on a canvas. I love it, dude.
Should do that.
I love it, man. All right. Well, let me get to this super
Look
chat.
at this thing. Not that.
What you got? Oh, that. I don't know what that.
I don't even know how to do this anymore.
That's yeah. Just
My
don't.
brain doesn't work. There we go. Sell that. People run away from that. I'd have to pay people to buy it.
That is hilarious. All right. Living it with Scott and Kat. Appreciate the $10 super chat, man. Brother, you and Kat have always been super supportive. Here to support my brothers. Always looking forward to the show. Appreciate that. They've got a new podcast. I had a chance to hang out with them during their first one. I did not get a chance to join your Friday night one, which they're going to do. The Friday night one is more home theater and music related and kind of what we're doing here. And the one with him and Kat on Wednesday nights is kind of more of their adventures together and places they go, their gambling, vacations, things like that. So definitely show them some love, give them some support. And their video is doing really, really well. A lot of people responded saying that that was just a really cool conversation with different people that got to experience their 2-channel setup and their home theater. And it was cool, man. It was definitely a different type of video for me. But it was a lot of fun shooting and editing that. So go show them some love. Appreciate you, man. All right. I had one more here. Hey, appreciate it, Joseph. He says, thanks for all the great videos. Do my best, man. Got lots more in the works. So we're going to have some fun with that. All right. Here we go, man. Let's jump right into it. CJV Monoprice has a great deal on the HTP one for $26.99 with a coupon code instead of a couple code. Ryan, is it true that they're supposed to be getting Dirac ART in Q4? Also, what are your thoughts on user experience on Dirac ART? And then I'll throw this in there. I saw another comment not too far after this saying that deal, oh, here it is right here, SRW 1000, says that deal is no longer valid. It's expired, so it doesn't work anymore. They're going to start beta testing ART in October.
Look at that. The chat answered the question for us.
What's that? Yeah. So that's super cool. So what are your thoughts on the user experience on Dirac ART? Because you've had some opportunity to use that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not much different than Dirac. There's some added features and things that where you have to define support groups and all that. It's hard to say how it's going to be, because at the end of the day, every manufacturer is going to be having to implement it on their own. So I don't know what that experience is going to be like for other manufacturers. I know what it's like for Storm, but I can't really speak for what it's going to be like with the Monoprice. I still prefer calibrating manually over using Room EQ and ART, even with its active room treatments and stuff. I think it's really cool, and I think it's great. It's another tool that people can utilize to make their rooms better without needing a professional calibrator to come in. It does do a lot, and it does provide a lot of benefit at the end of the day. So yeah, but it's going to be something that you're going to have to learn how to do, and it's going to be something you're going to have to spend some time doing more than once, because there is a large learning curve with it, knowing your support groups, how many support groups, what should support what frequencies, and it's a lot.
Yeah. Cool deal, man. Miles says, question, what is the best way to make sure that your subs are perfectly in phase? Currently cannot use RAW because I don't have a USB mic yet. So can he do that without taking measurements? Not to make sure that it's perfectly in line.
No. I mean, you could try by ear, but that's going to be really hard. I mean, you could tell if you knew what to listen to for. I don't really know the best way to explain this. You really need a USB mic.
If you've got like variable phase, I mean, there's like 0 to 180. So that's a lot of increments to be able to just try to hear that and make adjustments on that. So Miles, trust me, I used RAW for quite a while before I bought a mic, and I'm like, I don't want to spend 100, whatever it was at that time, $120. And finally I'm like, I need a mic, and I bought one. I'm like, okay, now
buy a mic.
So the cool thing is, once you buy it, I mean, literally, you don't have to buy it again. I mean, I don't even think you need to have like the UMic 2. There are definitely some other higher end mics you can spend, but
so he asked, Sonny asked, what about listening for loudest summation? Yes, you can, but guys, that's not always the easiest thing to do. It's especially when you're dealing with incrementals on a phase dial instead of just turning it like from 0 to 180 immediately. Yes, theoretically you should be able to hear it, but just being in phase does not immediately mean that all of your frequencies are going to summate. There's a lot of variables that go into this, and you really need to measure it.
Sure.
Because if you're trusting your ears without measuring, odds are, for the majority of the populace, myself included, you're going to get it wrong.
Yeah. And Tito makes a good comment. He's like, there are definitely guys that you can pay to calibrate it. Sometimes they can even do it remotely. Some of them charge $150 an hour. He feels it's ridiculous. The cool thing is all of this stuff is learnable. The question is do you want to spend the time to learn it?
$150 an hour is actually cheap
Well,
for
and that's
professional
what somebody
calibration.
else mentioned. So Eddie says that's not bad.
No.
So
like there's guys, the big boys are going to charge 5,000
sure.
plus.
Yeah, for sure.
one room.
Yep. Yeah, because I could see like Chuck Gerlach, he's not coming to your house for $300. Not at all. So he's a man, dude. He's been doing this for a long, long time. All right, let's keep going here, man. Good question, Mike. Miles, sorry, not Mike. Sammy, do you need a home theater and a nice system for the family room? Need is always subjective.
I'd say you never need it.
Yeah. I mean, so in my house, I have a dedicated theater room, full Dolby Atmos surround sound, 7.2.4. Do I need to kind of have a smaller scale in the living room? No. I'm totally cool with literally having 2 speakers. Now, I want good sound in the living room, but I don't need a center channel. I don't need a subwoofer in there, because if we want to go watch a movie, we're not watching it in the living room. We're going in the theater room. But if Jessica and I are just watching I don't even know what you call them, but where they're renovating the houses and flipping houses, things like that, I don't need a surround sound. I don't need Dolby Atmos for that. We can enjoy that just fine. So I don't think you need, but there are plenty of people that like to have even a different sound, one set of speakers from maybe one brand in the theater room and something different in the living room. Because maybe there's 2 brands that you really like the sound of it. But like in Ryan's setup, you don't have a surround sound system in your living room.
No, it's just 2 speakers and a sub. It's 2.1.
Yeah. So I think
it does great.
Yeah, I think you can get some great sound. Again, it's just whatever your preference is. And I mean, if you want to go for it, do it. Do you need one? Well, we don't even need a dedicated theater room, but
no more speakers in living room.
I know, it's like, so need is always subjective. Tango, appreciate the 50.
Man, those fighting words.
Yeah, I'm not sure what DKK, what currency that is, but thank you so much. Hey, all, greetings from Denmark. There we go. So that's where it's from. If it ain't subsonic, it ain't real bass. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Hope all are doing great. Doing great over here, man. Yeah, it's one of those things that until you experience below, let's just even start with 20 hertz. The ideal subwoofer, or the I guess the entry goal is to get a subwoofer that'll play down to 20 hertz.
So I think it's actually not only limited to 20 hertz. I think it's pressurization of the room.
Sure. Yeah, because I mean, if it's not,
if you're not pressurizing, all you're getting is the shake and the frequencies, and your chair may rattle.
True.
It's a totally different experience, baby, when you get subs that are able to pressurize the space, because you start getting the chest thump. You can feel the weight of the air on your skin, and it's totally different. Sure. Totally different.
I agree, man, but I'm all for subsonic bass. Some people say, well, number one, there's not really much content down low. I don't believe that. I've heard plenty of movies that have plenty of content down low. And then the other thing is, yes, you can't hear it, but you can absolutely feel it. So I love it, man. Appreciate the super chat there, Tango. Bruce Barnes question, the JVC NP5, we were just talking about that a few minutes ago before the show, is the same price as the Epson LS12000. Would it be silly to go with the NP5 over the LS12000? Ryan?
So the MP5 is $500 more. We actually had this exact conversation. The MP5 is $500 more than the LS12000. It was substantially more expensive, but JVC has lowered the price. The MP5 has one disadvantage, and that disadvantage is going to be brightness. I mean, it's effectively like an NX5 or a NX7 with 120p capability. So I would say if you don't need the extra light output MP5 every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
No question. Better contrast,
Typically,
better tone mapping.
yeah. Typically, Epson, you're going to get brighter. There's no doubt. And they've always that's been their market. Good image, nice image quality, but really bright. JVC, more on the color accuracy, more on the contrast, definitely on the black levels.
I don't
So
know that
there's,
I would say color
I don't
accuracy.
think so.
Well, that would come down to calibration.
True. But I
Um,
guess all of them you could do that.
yeah, I think contrast for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have the loss of ANSI contrast that I think the NZ7 does.
Mm-hmm.
Its really only fault, I guess 2 faults, is that it's bulb, so you are gonna have to change bulbs,
Sure.
and it doesn't have the light output.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much light output you're gonna lose on the LS12000 when it's calibrated. You're gonna lose some on the JVC. I don't know how much you're gonna lose on the LS12000. Some projectors you lose a lot. I don't know if the Epson's one of them.
Yeah. Some of them lose like what, 20%,
Most
30%?
lose 20%.
Yeah. And that's pretty significant.
Yellow does bring up a good point that Epson's motion is better, and I would agree with that. Their motion is better.
I've heard Jonathan mention that lots.
Oh, you can see it. JVC historically has not had good motion handling.
Mm-hmm.
Their motion interpolation is not great. Nobody's is really that good, but JVC's is not great.
Cool. SRW 1000. Can't wait to see what the upcoming JVC firmware adds to the capabilities of the projector. So yeah, JVC is working on a new one. That is their frame adapt version 2, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Expecting it sometime in November. Mm-hmm. I think that's what we heard at CEDIA. I don't know if they've stuck with that or not.
So it should be right around the corner. So that'll be exciting to check that out. Do says, I know this may be a dumb question, but can playing old console games like the NES, Super NES, and PlayStation 1 on a projector ruin it? Great question. I don't see, I mean, a video signal is a video signal. As long as it's capable of accepting that input, you're not going to ruin it by any means. So have fun with it.
Yep. Get one of those digital up converters too for those older systems. They do a lot of work.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Joe the French Canadian. Hey guys, I listen at -10 dB for my 4K disc. If I listen to the same movie, but on streaming, I have to listen to louder to have the same output. Will it have more distortion and be dangerous at 0? So different volume levels on 4K versus streaming. So if he has to crank that up more, is he introducing more distortion? And could that be harmful to speakers?
I mean, that's just going to come down to the dynamic range of the content and what it was mastered in for the 4K disc and the streaming. Streaming typically is quieter than disc. Mm-hmm. At least that's been what I have noticed. Sometimes you just have to turn it up.
Yeah.
Volume is volume.
Won't damage the speakers if it starts to. I guess the reality too is if you can hear the distortion, yeah, that's not good. But if it sounds clean at 0 dB, I don't see any problem with it.
Well, your dB, all you're doing is increasing the voltage the preamp or the AVR is sending to the amplifier. So theoretically, it should be the same volume that they're outputting if it's the same SPL.
Mm-hmm. I think he's just thinking like with the amount of compression and maybe the artifacts are already present in.
I wouldn't say it's dangerous. I mean, you may notice distortion. Yep. That's really, if it's the same volume, it's the same volume. I mean, it's probably going to have more distortion in it. I mean, there's more compression in the audio for sure in streaming.
But it's not like crazy.
Well, it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
It's probably not going to sound as good.
Schmuck says, what is the best way to test STC rating of a wall room with an SPL meter?
There are websites that you can use to get the algorithms for figuring this out. You're going to need a sound meter, and you're going to need the ability to generate certain frequencies. And then you use an algorithm that you're going to run your measurements through, and it's going to supposedly tell you the STC rating of whatever you're firing the audio through.
Mm-hmm. I like this. I'm going to throw this up real quick. is I Am Legend 2 legit or fake news? I think that was a fake news.
No idea. This is the
I
first
think I
time I'm
saw
hearing about it.
the same. It was like a trailer or something, but yeah, I don't think it is. So I think I saw the same thing not too long ago. Zach says, "What are the pros and cons of having two subwoofers in a single enclosure?" So, like in my case, I've got two 18s kind of stacked on top of each other versus two subwoofers, having one over here and one over here, or one in the front, one in the back. He's looking at possibly the GSG enclosures. Typically, when you stack them, you're going to get more output, but you lose the ability to kind of use those speakers, those subwoofers to flatten out your frequency response. So anytime you can separate that and put them in different sections of your room, when calibrated and dialed in, they can help with that frequency response. So to me, I think that's the only drawback other than size, because now you've got twice probably the height of a single enclosure. But I mean, if you can go with two subwoofers in different parts of your room and then use calibration to time align those, and I think you'll get a better response.
Zach, which subs are you looking at? How big is your room? And how big of a bass head are you? Need more information. It's always everything in everything is compromise, right? There's always pros and cons. In this situation, if you put the drivers and the amps in the same location, you're increasing output from a single location because you're increasing surface area, you're increasing power. Those things feed off of each other and your output increases exponentially. The problem with that is that you've now co-located everything and you don't have the same ability to remove room modes from your frequency response at your main listening position or whatever you're trying to do.
So 12 foot by 15 foot. So not a really big room.
Not a huge room. Sealed 18s.
Sealed 18s.
I would just do sealed 18s.
Dude, if you got two 18s in that room, that would rock.
Yeah,
100%.
that's what I would do. Or 4, ideally.
Or 8.
Well, I'm being a bad influence, but you put 1 in each corner, and I think you're going to have a much better frequency response because even with 2, you're got a pretty high possibility of room modes, some nasty nulls and stuff at the main listening position, depending on what his room's like. But I would do 2 singles over a dual 18, a single dual 18, for sure.
Yeah.
Or if you're crazy like me, put several captivators in that room and call it good.
So Ryan, can we add a trigger, 12-volt trigger, to a pro amp? Do they make
some
external
pro amps allow you to do it through Phoenix connectors? I think Crown is one of them. But the easiest way that I found to do it is just use Wi-Fi 120 volt plugs and just set up a script that way.
Nice.
Using like Harmony or however else you want to do it, and just have the amp always on and then send power to the 120 volt plug and then it'll kick the amp on.
Okay. So Brian says, so with the Zapiti news, so if you haven't heard, Zapiti is closing down shop. I think by the end of the year, they're going to offer a paid
They're supposedly going to try and do an app. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Yeah, I think they're going to. But there'll be a paid app that you can kind of continue to use, kind of like the UE, not UE, yeah, the UI, and not have to use off their server. So what platforms do you think might benefit the most?
I don't know that Zapiti was huge to begin with. Maybe they were in Europe. They weren't here in the States.
Yeah.
Zedu for sure, because they were their main competitor.
Yeah, they were definitely direct competitors. But
Them
we
and
may
Flex.
see the same thing. We may see. I mean, my thought is like, what's going to happen to these other companies?
Yeah, but they were. I think Zapiti was shutting down because of lack of business, weren't they? I don't think the government shut them down.
I don't know. I mean, they made them stop selling the the NAS in the
Yeah, but
US.
Zedu doesn't sell that.
True.
Zedu just operates on a standalone media player. They don't.
Mhm.
I
Yeah, I
can
didn't
see
really
why the US would shut that down.
sure. Yeah, so Symphonics Audio, basically all the metadata, like all your I guess poster art and all that metadata is stored on their server. So it actually took a while to kind of boot up the system, and it would download.
Oh, that's how
Yeah.
they did it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's
So
what got them
I'm
in
much like
trouble.
it. So yeah,
Zedu, I think they have a repository, but they may go through like IMDb
Mhm.
and then it's all stored locally.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Mm.
definitely made it kind of laggy, for lack of better words. So, but yeah. Yellow Mobile.
Excuse me.
Would love to hear you guys' thoughts on what you think is often the most overlooked thing in home theater, like screen masking. So, what are some things that people overlook in maybe underrated? That'd be a good
The room.
way to describe. What do you mean the room?
Well, people are all about buying equipment, and most people don't treat the room.
Mm-hmm.
Like your room is
Mm-hmm.
the most important thing. The
Yeah,
most important. And people have the tendency to just not treat it.
yeah.
And you can make huge differences
Mm-hmm.
if you treat your room.
Yep, 100%. Yep.
I really think that's the most overlooked thing
Yeah.
is the
Well,
room.
in prime example, so when I built my theater room, we bought this home 15 years ago. I thought it was 17. We moved back to Florida 17 years. We were renting a house and then we bought this one. So technically we've been here in this home for 15. And when I started building out my home theater,
Mhm.
I didn't have any panels. I had
I didn't
speakers.
either.
I had I built a cabinet or had a guy build me a cabinet, had a projector, had a screen, had theater seating, I had a riser. I didn't have any
And you
panels.
probably thought it was the bee's knees.
I enjoyed it. And
And
then
what you know now, if you walked into that room, you would have an aneurysm.
yeah, the first thing, so ideally if I were to rebuild say we moved next week, like Ryan said, the first thing I would do is I would treat that room. Like
No
literally,
question.
I've been into people's rooms that don't have any treatment and it's like
Oh, like you clap and it's boing, 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 boing.
yeah. And I've done, and honestly, that's what I don't know. I was watching a video or I was reading on a forum, maybe the AVS forum, and somebody suggested, they said, just go to your center of the room, like where you sit, and just clap one
Mhm.
time, pretty loud, and just listen. What do you hear? And so I went into my theater room, sat down in my theater seat, and I clapped one time. It's the first time I'd ever done that. And that's exactly what I heard. I mean, it was
Yep.
boing, 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 boing. And I went,
I mean, it
that
doesn't
sounds
last
pretty
that long,
good.
but
Right.
you can hear the slapper turn come
Yeah.
off of the
I'm
walls.
like, that's probably not pretty good. Like
That's probably not good.
so fortunately I was over at a guy had bought our or our neighborhood was still being developed. So there was a nuke family that came in, went over and said hi to him, got to know him. He invited me into his living room because we were talking about sound and speakers and stuff. And he said, "Oh, I got a small little setup." And so I went in there and he had acoustic treatment in his living room. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And so as we're walking out his garage, I noticed there's probably like 15 of them things just leaning up against the wall. I'm like, hey, dude, what are you doing with those? He's like, I don't know. He's like, my other home, I needed more, but this home, I don't need as many. So I don't know. They're just sitting here. I'm like, would you be interested in selling them? He said, I don't know. I might. I said, well, here's my number. Text me, if you decide on a number. So he texts me on, I think like later on that night. And he's like, how about $11 a piece?
Oh my gosh.
It was a no-brainer. I'm like, and that
Oh,
was way before Venmo and Cash App. I'm like, can I bring you the cash tomorrow? So that was awesome. So actually what you're seeing, it's hard to see, but literally right here, that's one. So that was from the original before I migrated to the GIK panels, which they're more of a diffusion and acoustic panel. So they do kind of both. But yeah, man. But yeah, you want a nice slap Decay. Yeah, good luck with that one. If that's the way I'm reading that, no, you don't want to slap echo for sure. But yeah, I agree. All right, let's see if we can blow through some of these. Nicholas, question: does having all 4 subs, one in each corner of the room, improve the decay time down low over dual subs? Do you know how that affects decay time? I would think that would be more with
Decay time's more your room.
your acoustics, right?
And how long it takes that particular frequency to dissipate. So what I have noticed in my days of calibration is that typically the more uncalibrated a room is, the hotter the bass frequency, because you have to boost the low end in order for you to get the same level of feeling that you would get from a calibrated and pressurized room. That can make things exponentially worse because you've got more sound in the room that's having to decay, and it can be just a bad experience. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be down to more of your room than it is the subs. I mean, unless the subs are acting in a way like art does, and it's able to neutralize the frequency intentionally. But
So
then you would
Nicholas,
need support.
yeah, he's saying so multi-subs doesn't affect decay. So
Art
decay
does.
is how much time it takes for that sound to stop. So again, I'm not an engineer. I don't know
So art
how.
does, active root treatment does, because it's able to neutralize the frequency with other waveforms and they can cancel each other out. But normally, no. I mean, it's the frequency in the room and how long the room takes to dissipate said frequency.
That would be my thought, but honestly, that's my opinion. I don't know that with data, so I'd have to measure it. Brian says, "Hey guys, looking at 2 speaker brands, Focal Vestias versus Dynaudio Evoke. Any thoughts?"
I mean, I've got a whole system of Vestias if you want to.
He's like, "I'll hook you up with a good deal."
We got M-Wave demos that need
Oh,
to
that's
really
right.
find a home.
All right.
I've got a.
I've only heard, I think, one Dynaudio system ever. So,
Did you like it?
man, it's been a long time. It was it was different. Not in a bad way, but it wasn't. It wasn't my favorite. But again, that was one room. It's really hard to base an entire opinion off of one experience.
Okay.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I don't want to say,
Yeah.
hey, it's not really my jam. There may be some killer Dynaudio systems out there, but I don't.
In my opinion, if somebody
haven't-
only had 2 options and they were asking for my advice based only on the brand names, I would pick Focal over Dynaudio.
Yeah, Mia says Dynes are nice for 2-channel. I wouldn't say it'd be my choice for home theater. So that's always an interesting thought, because to me, if a speaker sounds good for 2-channel, it should be good for home theater, and vice versa. I mean,
Maybe he's saying that the only limitation I can think of there is that maybe the dispersion characteristics of one speaker for 2-channel don't work necessarily well for home theater, and maybe the 2-channel speaker can't get loud enough.
Okay, now I could see that. That makes sense.
But Brian, really, if you're interested in Vessi at all, I have the full 5.2 system, all Focal Vestia. I'd really like to find it a
Basically
home.
brand new. I mean, they
Just
brought
used
it
it
to the show.
M-Wave.
Ryan bought it from them, and so now he's selling them.
They're demos.
Yeah.
You're going to get the hookup.
Cool. Get a Youth Man deal, man. Reach out to us, midwestaviexperience.com/sales. Tito, Youth Man, you have listened to both Perlison and JTR subwoofers. Do you think the R212s are good for home theater? R212s are great speakers. I think I don't know if I've heard the 212s. I heard I guess the 15 model.
The D15?
D15S. So that's what I've heard. 215S.
Yeah.
Those are
It's
pretty
a
wild
good sub.
subs.
But I will contend that the two manufacturers that make the best subs on the planet, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, are JTR and Ascendo. I mean, that's it.
Huge output, super clean, low distortion, and digs deep.
I've been to a lot of rooms, and there's only two manufacturers of subs that I've been in that when I see them, I just know it's going to be a phenomenal bass experience if they're calibrated correctly.
So since we're talking about subs, what about rail?
No.
That was quick.
Okay.
Scott, that's what we're talking about for listen subs.
Rel makes okay subs. I think you can get much better for the money. Would you agree? I mean, the Predator for $1,500, I don't think is horrible.
I haven't heard the only RE or Rel. I always say REL. So I used to REW, and so my brain sees and I want to call it REL. Okay, so he's saying why not? Could I get an answer for that? Some of their subwoofers initially, just looking at specs alone, to me they don't dig deep enough for my taste. Now I don't know about the Predators, what they're rated for. I'm just looking at
okay.
I had an opportunity to hear I forget the model, but it's like 212s on the
212 SE.
Yes.
I had that one.
They were okay. They were expensive.
Okay.
Too.
Yes.
But I mean, I want to feel it, and I didn't feel it in this room.
How many years ago was that? 5 years ago.
They're expensive.
I had those.
Yeah.
And then I got the JTR 4000. You might as well live in a totally different dimension. It doesn't, and they were the same price.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very
I don't know if I don't know that they're the same price anymore, but they were the same price then, and it was just
sure.
And the argument that people are going to make, and this is the argument that always gets brought up, is that Rel subs are more musical. No, they're not.
Well, here's a comment from Nicholas. They specialize in 2-channel.
It doesn't matter. A good speaker and a good sub are good speakers and good subs. It's just recreating the audio. It's all it's doing. How is home theater audio different from 2-channel? How is it any different? It's still audio frequencies being broadcast by some type of speaker.
Yeah.
So the assumption that one is better at something else, and Rel is all about that, whatever the high level input that they call it.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of nonsense.
All right. So I'm going to, and I never bought into that either. And again, I'm not trying to bash them. All right. So Mia, I think you've got Rel subwoofers. You said you got the Predators and you love them, and that's fantastic. And I would never, ever, ever discourage somebody and try to say, hey, this is trash, because it's not. It's not that it's a bad.
I don't think they're trash.
Subwoofer. So here, like for me personally, all right, let's look at the HT 1510. So this is designed for home theater. The issue that I have looking at this, okay, it's a $2,000 subwoofer, $1,700, is this down here. So if we go down to the specs, this is where I feel that I could get something better. They're 6 dB down at 20 hertz. So to me, that means it will not hit 20 hertz.
No, it won't. It'll be 6 dB under flat.
Correct.
But then the other problem is that I have with these types of measurements, unless you're doing like objective stuff when you've got, and Gene actually, I think, reviewed this sub on Audioholics, is at what SPL are we actually playing that 20?
Okay.
Because if we start getting up really high and it starts to not be able to get there and it starts changing the frequency response, like, yeah, maybe it's flat at 80, but what happens when we start pushing it at like 103? Is it going to start falling off a lot sooner? I don't know. And this is something that this isn't Rel specific. This is one problem I have with that type of specification with any sub. And that's why measurements and things are so important
Sure.
because you can see what SPL the measurement was taken, and you've got a lot more data to be able to make an objective decision than just saying, oh, it was 6 dB down at 20 hertz.
Yeah.
Great.
But like I said, I'm not saying it's a bad subwoofer.
No.
For me, I'm looking for more than what that rail can offer.
I think
home theater.
They're okay subs. They're not phenomenal, but I wouldn't say they're bad. I mean, they do. There's a lot worse out there, but I think you can get a lot better sub for the money. Like, look at Shoe.
Yeah, HSU.
Or Rhythmic, or SVS, or Klipsch now with their 16-inch, that 1600, whatever the model number is. I mean, there's many, many options that you have available to you in that price point. And for another $1,000, that may seem like a lot, but another $1,000, you can get to a true end game sub, which is in JTR RS1.
Yeah. And it would mop the floor with it.
Oh,
I think. So
no question. It wouldn't be a contest.
And that's just
at that point.
That's like empirical data that you can see.
And the benefit of getting to that level of like a JTR RS1 is that there is no upgrading from that. It's just either side grading or you're just adding more 18s into the lineup. There's no, oh, well, I'm going to go to something that's bigger and badder. You're just adding more drivers.
This is hilarious. I like this. Greg says musical just means it doesn't have to play. I like that.
That's what a lot of.
That's pretty funny.
If you look at a lot of the setups that people say, oh, it's a musical sub, they have like one 8-inch driver, like a T8 sitting next to some awesome tower. And they're like, oh, this is a musical sub. Dude, why even have a sub?
Yeah, you're kind of missing out. So, yeah,
4 JTR RS1s. Yeah. That's really very close to what you have. You have 2 RS2s.
Yeah, Scott RTJ was not at CEDIA. Jeff
he doesn't really do
for
the shows.
most part. I think the only one he comes to is M-Wave. He used to go to Axpona for a couple years, but he no longer does that.
So Big Jack brings up and says, I'm a big fan of Stereo Integrity 24s for the money. 2 24s and an amp was roughly $3K. Yes. One of the problems that I have with do-it-yourself subs is subs, in my opinion, require DSP. And if you don't DSP them, or if you don't have an amp that has built-in DSP, you better EQ it. And a lot of people, I don't think, EQ to the level that those 24s deserve. And I think they're leaving a lot on the table. So if you're going to get the 24s, EQ them. Because if you don't, your frequency response is going to be like this. And it's just not going to be great. But if you EQ it, it's going to be fantastic.
Cool. Curtis says, hey guys, I've been going back and forth between 2 GSG 18 mini Martys and 2 PSA 18s. There's approximately $1,000 difference. What are your thoughts? 2 great companies. I mean, the PSA, Power Sound Audio, they've got different 18s, so it might be depending on which one you're looking at. We heard dual GSG 18s at M-Wave. Powerful subs. He's talking about the mini Martys. Probably get more. I'm guessing the Martys and the GSG is probably the $1,000 less. Let me know in the comment if that is correct.
The mini Marty's ported and the PSA's sealed.
What's that now? The mini Martys? I'm not sure.
They're ported, but are the PSAs sealed?
Oh, I see. Again, it depends on our sound audio. So like they've got a bunch of different 18s. Most of his, well, no. So they're sealed and there's ported. So it depends. You got the iPal version. You've got the non-iPals. There's TV series. And I don't know Tom's.
I will universally suggest people go sealed unless you get a cabinet that's big enough to do something like what the 4000s bring to the table. Most ported boxes do not go deep enough for me.
So I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum, and here's what I recommend. And this is a good discussion. I like that we both have different opinion. I have always been on the ported side until I got to 18-inch drivers, and then I realized I've got enough surface area to really move some.
Oh, I'm specifically talking about 18s.
Okay, right.
No, with smaller drivers, you're going to have to be ported in order to offset the driver size. You're not going to have the output.
Yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah.
So
sorry for ruining the conversation.
Oh, I thought we were about to have a disagreement. I was like,
nope.
This will be fun. But here's the cool thing. You'll find that Ryan and I have disagreements. Jonathan has different opinions.
There's no disagreements. Michael's just wrong.
Whatever. Well, that's probably true too. Jonathan isn't here. I forgot to mention that earlier on. He's got a family obligation, so he'll be back with us probably next week. Caleb says, what crossover should I run for my Klipsch 1600 SW and SPL 150, 80, or 100 hertz? Definitely not 120 hertz on the crossover. Well, okay, I'll take that back. The short version on that, you have a crossover on the back of your sub, and you also have a crossover in, let's just say, your AVR. So if you're setting, my recommendation, take the crossover on the back of the subwoofer, just turn it wide open, and what that essentially does is disable the crossover there, because you don't want to be using the crossover in the sub and use it in your AVR, because then they kind of start doing some overlap. And
manufacturers just need to get rid of that thing.
Yeah, I'm not real sure. Yeah, because every AVR has it built in. I'm not sure why they add a crossover. Anyway, whatever. So turn that wide open on the 1600 SW, wide open on the SPL 150. Then in your AVR, 80 hertz is a good starting point, but you may find, again, this goes back to taking measurements. You may find that setting your mains to 70 hertz provides a better frequency response.
You're going to have to measure it.
You're kind of guessing, if you don't. But 80 hertz that's a general rule of thumb, but definitely not 120 hertz. You're going to start to hear where that bass is. So if you got it in the front corner, your brain's going to go, oh, I hear the bass coming out of that front right corner. You don't want to do that. You want the bass to be just around you and in the room. So you're going to be at 80 hertz or below, typically. So, but that depends on your speakers.
Depends on the speaker, depends on the room, depends on what the measurement's going to be.
Yeah.
You got to measure it. You got to look at it and find out what looks the best. You don't want to go too high, because then you can start running a male vocal getting into your subs, and that's just a bad experience.
Yeah.
But you need to measure it.
Yeah. Tango, that was super sweet. Says we should do a donation for your daughter and her boyfriend. I appreciate that, man. So they're on the Appalachian Trail. Let's see. Next one. Tango got all kinds of questions tonight. I was thinking of getting one more M&K Dominus sub. I want to keep the one for my front, and then maybe talk more with Life of Bliss about those subs that he had going. Maybe get two sent to Denmark.
The 24s. Those were the stereo integrity 24s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they're going to be on a different level than the M&K.
I don't know what the M&K Dominus is.
M&K Dominus.
Those stereo integrity 24s are insane for output.
They're bad. Let's see.
But they're enormous.
He's saying Dominus because they're THX Dominus rated. Okay. Ew. So it's called the X15 plus $6,000 sub.
It's a 15.
It is I'm looking. Well, here. This is on Stereo Integrity's website. I'm not Stereo Integrity.
M&K.
No, it's like a Sound and Vision. So they reviewed it. X15 plus THX. I'm thinking it's a 15-inch driver. Just looking here. No, dual 12. Okay, so X12 has dual 12s. 15 has dual 15-inch woofers. So it's THX Dominus certified. $6,000, at least at the time of this article. Let's see what the specs are on this thing, if it shows. Here we go. Specs. All right, so specs 700 watt continuous amp, 14 peak.
The stereo integrity 24s, if that's the only comparison, will dominate that sub.
I mean, we've got, what dang, I hate these ads. I'm just kind of looking like right here. So if they're getting a little bit less than 100 dB at 20, let's just say 22 hertz, down at 10 hertz, they're down 20, almost 30 dB. So they've lost all output.
The 24 will be flat, probably down to 5.
Yeah. So
just do the 24s.
They're pretty bad, man.
They're, yeah.
And they were driving. I mean, they were in a massive room at M-Wave, massive room. So they were pretty bad. Bussy Bandito, like that name. I was going to spend $1,000 on a soundbar. What can I get in the home theater field that would at least match a soundbar?
Guys,
almost anything. What's that?
There's nothing bad about a soundbar.
But he's just asking if he has $1,000. That was his initial plan, to spend $1,000 on a soundbar. If he were to get something different, what would at least match that?
But it depends on if the soundbar is conducive for his environment or not. I mean, maybe the speakers, there's no sense in jamming something that doesn't fit into the environment just because it's better. Soundbars have their place.
Oh, I agree. And I used to just poo-poo on soundbars for a long time.
They have their place. There's a reason to get a soundbar. Like I ran a soundbar. I may go back to a soundbar in my living room.
I think he's going to put it in his theater room.
Having speakers in my theater and stuff, they just take up too much space and they get in the way. And it's just, you don't necessarily need speakers in a dedicated environment for every space. Sometimes soundbars are fine. Some soundbars actually sound really good.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about what is going to match $1,000 soundbar,
there's a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, that's why I said jokingly almost anything. There's quite a bit that would match the, I think the biggest thing that soundbars.
Hold on, think about what you would need for speakers though.
Yeah, you need a soundbar. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean soundbars for a budget, it's pretty good.
Yeah, the AVR could eat up most of that budget.
Yeah.
Even at 500, I mean, a cheap AVR is going to be $400 or $500. So now you use half of that. You're right.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at probably 2 speakers.
No
maybe
sub.
2 speakers, a sub, maybe.
Probably not.
Yeah.
The soundbar is probably going to come with a sub, even though it's not fantastic sub. It's going to have a sub.
The biggest struggle with soundbars is their subs are so weak.
But for $1,000 price point, what kind of sub are you going to get with those speakers, AVR and an AVR? Nothing.
I know.
So
used, that's what you do. You go get
used, yes.
You buy some killer.
I can see that.
Yeah. 2 speakers would not be easily set up. Yeah.
It's a tough question. I think for $1,000, I would go with a soundbar.
Yeah. Yeah. Just depends on what works best for you.
Hang it from your TV, wireless sub most of the time. I mean, it's just easy.
Caleb says reasons why I should get a UMic 2 instead of just using Odyssey out of my Marantz SR6012.
Well, you can't really do PEQ on Marantz's and Denons out of the box. So don't really need it.
You would need something else like a mini DSP, or you would need to use their
the app, the $200 app.
Yeah.
The multi-Q EQX or whatever it is, which is actually really good.
Yeah.
But so that's what you would need.
Yeah. So you have to spend about $300 to be able to utilize it.
Yep.
Tango, maybe a stupid question. Never a stupid question here. But if I get a screen for my projector, 135-inch, transparent, 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio. Will the 16:9 format be the same height as 2.35 to 1 when playing? Hope you get my point. Absolutely
Yes.
get your point, because that's how I have mine set up. So that's called constant. It depends on how you set it up, but that is called CIH, constant image height. And so that means in 16:9, it fits top to bottom, but I have gray bars on the left and right. Then when I go to scope, cinema scope, you're zooming in so that it fits the width and then it also fits the height. So yes, so you're exactly correct on that. Nicholas, this channel is hot. I feel like Audioholics is dead these days. The youth man is pulling the weight for the people in 2023. I appreciate the vote of confidence. Here's my thought on that. I think that there are a lot of channels that do great things and they provide something different. My channel has always, like, the videos that I make apart from this podcast aren't super, super technical. What Gene offers and Audioholics and some of the other channels, Aaron's Audio Corner, they dive deep into the measurements. I don't do that. That's just not my thing. I don't have the tools a lot of times that they have. I don't have a clipple. I don't have the ability to measure if an amp is truly outputting 140 watts per channel. I don't have those. And honestly, I just really don't care to buy that stuff and to measure those. I create content from a consumer's perspective. What am I looking for when I review something? What is the user interface? How easy was it to set up? What does it sound like? Those types of things. So I think that Audioholics is doing a great job in what they specialize in. And there's some other awesome channels out there. And so I like supporting them all. So I got no beef there. But I appreciate the encouragement. Tango, love the honesty, and I love Youth Man's reaction. I'm not sure what that's in related to. Probably something I said earlier. My home entertainment system is 120 dB for bass good. I think so.
Yeah.
You only need to reach 105 peak.
No, 115
Well, I'm sorry, 115. You're right. Because your subs
for
are typically
flat.
10.
So
Yeah,
you'd have no house curve, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's sufficient.
Most people do not go that hot.
It's still loud. So yeah, I think you're good, man. Jay Travel's best placement for a sub behind the screen or in the corners. Honestly, I think if you can get them in the corners, a couple benefits there. You get boundary gain from those extra walls. And what that allows you to do is turn the sub down so it doesn't have to play as like hard.
Can mess with frequency response though.
What's that? Does it?
Can.
I put mine behind my screen, honestly, because I just don't have a big room. My room's only 13 by 19, 13 wide, 19 deep, but my front cabinet is 4 feet. So when you look at the footprint of my room, what I have available space to work with, you're only talking 13 feet wide, 15 foot deep. I have 2 rows of seating. So I just don't have any place to put them. So to me, the best place was behind my screen. So
it's going to depend on the room in an objective sense. It depends on the room in an objective sense of what the best position is.
And it also probably depends on, are you comparing 2 subs behind your screen versus 2 subs in your room somewhere? Or can you get 4 subs in your room and put them in all 4 corners? That's a good location. So I think that also comes into play as well on how many you can put in your room. Nicholas Ryan, how much of an upgrade or side upgrade is 4 RS1s compared to 4 PB4000s from SVS?
No comparison. The RS1s are going to walk all over the PB4000s. We actually heard it at M-Wave, and people were thinking that it was distortion, and they thought that the RS1 was distorting, but what was actually happening is the RS1 was playing frequencies that the SVS could not get to. It was getting much, much lower, and when the subs were going back and forth, people were actually perceiving the lower frequency as distortion, but it wasn't. It was a lower frequency.
Still picking the RS1. They were still picking the RS1.
Not all the time.
Oh, really?
But it was because they didn't know what was actually happening.
So and again, I can only speak for me. I know when I was putting in my note, and we were comparing the PB4000. I'm sorry, the PB16. So that would even be the
Yeah,
model.
and I'm saying it did happen, but not all the time.
Yeah, I got you.
So the RS1 is going to be able to get substantially lower in the frequency response than the PB4000.
Yeah. One John Lee, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Maybe a stupid question. Again, no stupid questions, guys. I love answering even the basic questions. I think everybody needs to be heard. And the reality is we all were there at some point. We all need to remember that. So when somebody asks a question and you're like, oh man, that's such an easy question. They could have Googled it. They could have, maybe. But the reality is we like helping people. So
Here is something to remember, guys. You may think it's a dumb question, but I guarantee multiple people are going to come here and that question is going to answer a question that they had, and you've just been the one to ask it.
Yeah, I agree. So he says, maybe a stupid question, but having one sub, so he's got a SVS PB1000 Pro, starting to bother me because it sounds uneven in my 13 by 13 room. Would adding another sub solve this problem, or maybe something else? I'm assuming, well, number one,
Measure
hate to
it.
break it to you, having a 13 by 13 room is going to be super, super challenging. It's definitely not ideal for any kind of room, but the reality, we all have rooms that we have to work with. And so
there's always compromises.
Correct.
The thing that I would do first in this, and I don't know what your budget is, get a measurement mic. See what's going on, because my first guess with the uneven is that your frequency response is doing this. And so when you're playing like a test tone and it's going from 0 up to 20,000, as it's coming up, the SPL should be going like this. But if your frequency response isn't flat, it's going like this, and it's doing all these weird things, and it's going to make it sound like it's uneven. So I would start with a measurement mic, see what it is. Then I would try moving that PB1000 around to see if I can get a better response in a different place in the room. Are you EQing? Try EQing. Then I would do another sub, because there's certain things you're not going to be able to fix with EQ. I wouldn't go ham with EQ. I would just add a couple filters. If that's not going to do it, more subs. That's would be my.
No, I agree with you. But yeah,
going at it for that problem.
Yeah, uneven. I mean, I'm not sure what that means. And since the room isn't huge, I don't know if you're talking about, maybe you have a couch and you're saying, okay, when I sit here, it sounds different than this. Sounds
that
different.
Could be what he means.
You know, or is it what Ryan's talking about? You're just not hearing a smooth frequency. So again, I've always recommended get a calibrated microphone, guys. I don't care who you buy it from, whether it's Dayton Audio, Omni Mic, UMic 1, UMic 2. Just get something so you can physically see what's happening in your room, because then you can begin to address issues with sub placement, because you may find moving it, like I said, even 1 foot over, or even 6 inches, 8 inches can make a difference. He says definitely not a smooth frequency situation. Never tried measuring. So that would be my first recommendation to you, because then physically, ideally, you want a pretty flat frequency response. So at let's say at 20 hertz, you're at, let's just say 75 dB. Well, at 25 hertz, you should be, ideally, you want about that too. Same thing all the way across.
How can you, with anything in life, whenever you're making a decision, how can you expect yourself to make the best decision if you don't have all of the information?
Sure.
If you don't have all the information, you're guessing on a lot of fronts. 100%. So if you want to make the best decision, you need the information, which means you need to measure. If you don't measure, you're not going to be able to tell what you need to do in order to overcome a problem, and you're just going to guess and throw money at the situation. It's all you're going to do.
Crazy cat. My cat's over there going nuts. Not my cat, Rachel's cat, my daughter. Neil says, hey, I'm thinking about making the switch. Is there a projector or ultra short throw projector that comes close to an OLED?
No.
Yeah. Unfortunately not, sir.
You're going to trade picture fidelity for size. Immersive. And that does increase immersion. Like, if I were to go bigger, like
Yeah.
big time, say 200 and something inches, I would probably go to something like a Christie. You're trading contrast for size, but the size outweighs the loss of contrast.
Yeah.
So as you're, it's again a compromise. As you're getting bigger, you're compromising by losing the image fidelity.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want the best decision, come to M-Wave. That applies to a lot of things, guys. We'd love to have you come out.
It does.
We are
Information.
looking, here's the dates for it. June the 21st through the 23rd. Put it on your calendar, man. Come and hang out. Me, Ryan, lots of other great folks that just love home theater. We're gonna have cool demos for you, side-by-side comparisons. You can see the JVC versus the Sony versus the Epson. Figure out what works best for you. We're gonna have TVs there so you can see in one room. All right, here's the OLED. Walk over to the other room, and we even talked about this. They may actually even be in the same room this year. So anyway, check out all the details. MidwestAVExperience.com. We don't have tickets available yet. It's still a long time off, but I'm thinking within like the last 6 months we'll have tickets on sale, maybe even sooner. So keep an eye on the website. Sign up for the newsletter, and that's the best way to keep up to date on that. All right, let's see. We're going to try to wrap up in about 15 minutes. How about that?
That works.
All right. Let's see how many more questions we can get to in that time frame. So Eddie says phase should be left at 0. Any issues should be fixed with time alignment?
No.
So why not, Ryan?
You can't fix all your problems with time alignment. Phase is just going to be something that is a necessary part of the equation. If you fix everything with time alignment, your waves are going to be arriving at inopportune times, potentially. Phasing, especially if the subwoofer is sitting directly opposite one another, like if I have one over here and one over here, if they're in phase, meaning they're both in the same phase, they're going to be pushing and pulling at the same time, and the sound waves are going to be coming in against each other. And this doesn't always happen. This is just can't happen. Sound waves are going to be coming in and then canceling each other out. Coming in, canceling each other out. But if this one is pushing and this one is pulling and they're going like this, right? Now you're not having the sound waves arriving and smashing into each other, and they're going to be summating and coming up, right? So you're going to be increasing everything instead of decreasing everything. And that's where the phasing, getting things in phase, can help immensely. Because even if you have things that are time aligned, right? If they're not in phase, your frequency response is going to be down here, or it could be like this, and you could have massive nulls. But if you have the same time alignment and you put them in phase, it all comes up, and you will notice acoustically there will be a huge difference. So it's really, really important that you make sure that the subwoofers and speakers are in phase with each other.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to be fighting, and it's not going to be a great experience. It's going to sound like poo.
There you go. So, Ryan, I'm trying to figure something out. We've got 143 people that are hanging out. Like, you chose to be here, but only 34 of you gave me a little thumbs up to let me know you like it. I don't even know if it matters to YouTube, but hit the thumbs up if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy the live streams. We're having fun. So Bruce says, I saw a commercial for couches with built-in subwoofers. Do these work well with the surround sound system? Do you about these couches?
Do you know anything about these couches?
The only one I've seen with like built-in, kind of what he's talking about. It was like at the mall. I can't remember the name of
Lovesack, probably.
Yes. Yeah, I'll be honest. I wanted to hear them just to see how bad they were. I don't expect anything.
I think they could be super cool for like what I'm doing with my open baffle subs in the couch.
Okay.
And then layering them with real subs, but I don't know how.
I don't think like just them
the
and
frequency
like
there. How does that even work?
Yeah,
could be good. I don't know.
I haven't demoed it.
By good, I mean you'd have to use them with traditional subs to even if for anyone in this channel that's watching this content, I can almost 100% promise you it's not going to be what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's what
I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. So there is a company that has reached out to me recently. We're going to try to meet up at Cedia, but honestly, man, I was so busy making content and video and interviewing, I didn't have an opportunity to meet with them. But they are proposing that they have some solutions similar to that. So they're
But
built-in transducers in
I think
Calcium.
that could be cool.
Yeah.
But you need to use them with traditional subwoofers. They can't.
They're claiming you don't need them. So again, I haven't.
Nah.
But anyway,
But
so
most people don't have the same opinion of what low frequencies should be like
yeah.
that we do.
So the next time I'm in Atlanta, so I've got some stuff that I'll be doing probably again with Atlanta Home Theater. Maybe I'll make some time to go by and demo, kind of see if there's any
Ryan, that
value.
is only true if the subwoofers are located at the same exact well, I can tell you that in my experience, that's false because my subwoofers are not the same distance for me and I have to use phasing. Time alignment doesn't work. There's a huge difference when you mess with phasing. You can make things better using time alignment, but unless you address phasing, you're leaving a lot on the table.
Let's see what else we got here. I have 3 subs. One is 600 watts and the other's 4,000 watts each. Should I use all 3 in the front or should I put the weaker one as the near field or rear sub?
Ooh. I kind of wonder what those subs are.
Yeah, it's like tell us some more information, Caboose, if you're still here.
My first thought is that the 600 watt is doing more harm than good.
Could be. Still might be a good sub though.
The other thing I want to know, are they all sealed? Are they all ported? Or are you mixing?
Yeah. Definitely a lot of questions there, Caboose. So if you're in the chat, give us some more details. What are the model numbers? I think that would help us.
All right. I'm not starring any more questions.
Yep. So what is a low pass filter? Great question, Mark.
Are you waiting for me to answer that one?
Yep. I don't ever use a low pass filter. Well,
low pass filter means that it's gonna play things above, not play anything below its filter mark.
So when it says low pass, see, in my brain, I'm thinking it's going to allow low frequencies to pass through this filter, but it's almost
the opposite.
See, that's why I never speak on that because I get confused.
So if you put like a low pass on your speaker, it's going to cut everything down here and only play things up here.
So, all right. So let's get real practical. When would that be? When would you add a low pass filter? Why would you add a low pass filter?
Sorry, it's the other way around. This is why you don't speak on it. It only passes things that are below the cutoff point.
Okay.
And it attenuates.
So trimming the upper end. So it was what I thought.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so
you can use it for attenuation. You could boost or cut, or it depends on what you're trying to do.
Frank called
the opposite. I corrected myself. Okay, I've had a long day.
Through that, I was like, wait a minute, maybe Micah was right. I was guessing, so it just made sense. Low frequencies are passing through this filter.
Yeah,
so you're stopping higher frequencies.
Yes.
So essentially, all right, think about this. So would this be correct? A crossover on a subwoofer, the dial on the back is a low pass filter.
Yes.
It's allowing frequencies from 80 hertz and below or 60 hertz and below to pass through that
and filter. It's attenuating the other ones.
It's really useful for controlling wet bass, I hear.
Yeah.
That's exactly. RW1000. Cool. Great question, man. Let's keep going. Joe, the French Canadian, if you had the choice to have all speakers the same sound signature, not capable of reference, or mix match reference capable. Oh man, why do you want to throw that in there, Joe?
I'd want them all.
Okay, so part of it, how loud do you listen? Because if you don't listen to, like me, for example, most of the time I'm 10 dB below reference when I'm watching movies.
Yeah, it's about where I am.
But I would rather have all similar speakers, or at least in the same family, than I would to say have a Martin Logan center channel and Klipsch fronts and Triad surrounds. I mean, that's just going to be like a hodgepodge, and they have completely different sound signatures.
I agree. I'd be the same way.
Sometimes mix match can work, but typically it's when you're going through different series. Like prime example, SVS You can use
prime example. Your room used to be that way.
It was, yeah, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I had clip surrounds and I had a JTR front soundstage, and I
But
loved
would
it.
you keep it that way given the opportunity?
No, not
Yeah.
at all. No, ideally you want them the same. Either way, whether all clips or all JTR. So, but I was working, I mean, I couldn't get it all at one time. So it was a process of several years before I got that.
I'd want them all to match.
Yeah, I agree. CJ, question, what AVR or pre-pro can you recommend for a 2.1 system?
Blue Sound Power Node.
So you really don't need an AVR or a pre-pro, because typically when you think of those, that's a 5.1, 7.1, 9.1 system. You just really need a stereo. I mean, do we really call them an AVR, even if it's a 2-channel stereo? Would that be considered still an AVR?
I don't
Audio
know.
video
Yeah,
receiver?
probably.
Maybe it still is. So yeah,
I
so
would
I
do a Blue
use
Sound Power Node Edge.
Think so?
Yep.
Is that enough power?
Yep.
Okay.
It's what I use in my living room. And you can stream to it. It's super easy. It's Class D. You can throw it. It runs super cool. You can throw it in a cabinet with no worry.
Okay.
I mean, it works
Eddie's
great.
saying the new Marantz 70S. I'm not familiar with that. That's a
You could
slim
do
model.
the 70S, but the Blue Sound Power Node Edge is so small. And then if you do other Blue Sound stuff, you can directly connect it into the same architecture. So if you've got like a soundbar in a different room, or you're running in-ceiling speakers, you could have them all playing the same thing. You can route different audio going to different things. So for setups like that, it's hugely flexible. It's
So
not
600
overtly expensive. I mean, I think the Edge is like 600 or 700 bucks.
Yep.
It's got eARC built in, CECs built in. I mean, I don't know what else you could want. It does 2.1. You have full control over the crossover.
40 watts a channel though.
But most people don't need more than that in a 2.1 environment. I mean, my speakers in my living room with my Martin Logans, I'm betting I'm using like 5 watts.
Yeah, I know, but I still want more.
But what are you using it
Maybe it's in
for?
my head. I don't. And again, this is subjectivity, but even now, I enjoy I've got the SVS Soundbase Pro.
Yeah.
And it sounds great. It's no problem with volume, but I feel like I'm missing that bottom end from the dual 10s. And so I feed it 200 watts a channel with that.
If you want more power, you can get the Power Node, not the Edge, which is a real 80 watts a channel.
Okay.
Which, guys, I promise you're not using as much power as you think you are in
I
your
get it.
in your
And
speaker.
like I said, it might be a mental thing, like I want it.
Oh, for sure.
That extra headroom, but I feel like I'm not.
What are you feeding it with 200 watts? Where's that coming from?
That is an old school Acurus A200.
Oh.
So it's a beast.
But most AVRs and stuff on the market, like that Marantz 70S that was suggested, they're not going to deliver a lot of power. You're going to get similar power from a lot of these solutions. So I think the Blue Sound stuff, what it brings to the table, it's all app controlled. You can stream to it. It's just super easy. Be what I would do.
Oh, mercy. JR, what did I miss? And here's the reality to JR. We don't hit every single question. I realize that, but I have no idea what question he's referring to.
I don't know.
I'll take a look up here. Let me see. I mean, think about this. We get hundreds of questions a night. So I know we definitely can't get all of them. We do our best.
I don't star all of them.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm scrolling. I don't see. If you don't mind, go back and copy and paste it. Normally I don't. Oh, here it is. Okay. Yeah. So here's part of the reason. So here's a question. So he says Paradigm Premier Series or Wharfdale. I've never heard Wharfdale, so I wouldn't be able to give you any advice. Have you heard Wharfdale, Ryan?
No.
So neither one of us can give you an
Based
answer.
on the name alone, I would pick Paradigm.
I reviewed the Paradigm. They weren't for me, the Premier Series.
But JR, if you're looking at doing something, email us. and let's have a conversation about what you're trying to do. And that goes for anybody in the chat. Like, if you want to have conversations and talk about gear and figure out what you should get, reach out to us. This isn't me trying to find like sales and stuff. I really started Ascend and came to Michael, and we started working together because we want the industry to be better. Even if you come to me and say, I want to buy this, if I don't feel like it's going to be a good fit for you, I will tell you no.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still sell you something, but I'm going to tell you that I don't think it's a good idea
Yeah.
because it's not going to be worth your time. It's not going to be worth your money. And you should be putting your money into something like we said earlier, which is the room or something like that. So if you guys want to have conversations, fill out the form on the website, ask away. That's what we're here for. We want you guys to have a better or as good of an experience as you can in home theater, in audio, in video, so that you're enjoying yourself instead of buying something and be like, I'm going to go buy something else. Because Michael and I have both been there, and we don't want you guys to have to reinvent the wheel.
I even bought the t-shirt. So
I have a closet. So many times
Mia likes Blue Sound products.
Cool. Great. They're awesome. Owned by Lenbrook, same guys that do NAD. NAD inputs all of their Blue Sound stuff into their stuff. Blue Sound's awesome. They're like the audiophile version of Sonos, and they're great.
I love this real quick. Tango says, Michael, you don't need the power. You just are like me. You want it.
He's power hungry.
And the A200, really good. Yeah, it's solid, man. It's a beast. Mike Frost, appreciate the $2 super chat. And his question is, when using towers as side surrounds, should you direct them straight at the listening position or point them towards the front wall?
That'd be my guess of what that is. Aim them.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to aim them towards your listening position. Yeah. All right. So think about this. And let me just kind of picture this. So imagine, let's see if we can do it this way. So imagine this is in my theater room and I've got tower speakers. So there's going to be a tower speaker kind of that way at an angle because we're all about the angles. There's going to be another one kind of that way. If you fire them straight into like towards the front wall, you're now off axis from that speaker. So the speaker is going to send sound at the front and it's going to have a certain dispersion pattern. So the more off center you get, the more off axis. And most speakers, a lot of speakers, the more off axis you get, the worse that frequency response gets. So ideally you want to take those and kind of point them in. Now, whether you point them directly at the primary listening position or you split the difference and, if you got a row of 3 and try to put them in between, I don't think
typically you want to, I think, because you're not really dealing with as much imaging with the surround channels, and directionality is much more important with localizing where that sound is coming from. So to me, I always try and angle them directly at the main listening position unless you're trying to encompass more of the full seating area. It's also going to depend on what type of speaker it is and how wide the dispersion area and how much of the main listening position it's going to cover. Like Jonathan's 70J1s are going to have a much easier time because they're like 150 degrees of dispersion. My Martin Logans are like 30. So mine are all angled directly at the main listening position. I think Jonathan's actually are too. But I do that because it's the only seat I care about. Everybody else can, go away. Don't care.
All right, we're going lightning round here. Nicholas, can you get JTR in? I know JTR.
I'm sure if we ordered enough, we could make that happen. I mean, shipping. It just comes down to how much it costs.
What's it going to cost? Okay.
We can make it happen.
Jason says, hey guys, what are your thoughts on a 7.1 with all tower speakers? Dude, that'd be awesome.
Don't do it.
That'd be awesome.
I'm just kidding. That'd be good.
Heck yeah, man. That's ideal. I mean, that's like your perfect setup, having identical towers. J Travels, let's see, I have a room that's 28 or 22 by 18. So pretty similar to my room. Subs I'm getting 2 JTR Captivator, 4,000 ULFs. Want to know the best placement for the subs behind the screen or on the corner. Okay, so we hit that one kind of earlier. Again, measure them. I think that's going to be, now that's with the 4,000 ULFs, that kind of stinks. I'd get some sliders, honestly. and that way you can try to get that around your room a little bit easier. Because
Oh, moving 4000s is awful.
sucks. Yeah, but
They
that's
get
really
bound up on the carpet because they weigh so much, and they've got these little feet on them. You have to have furniture sliders or the things that you pick up refrigerators and stuff with, because it's like moving a refrigerator. I mean,
is
they
it what 2 to 300?
300 pounds.
Yeah, that's no fun. So on June, thanks so much for $10 super chat. He says, just want to say thanks. Move my subs literally 2 feet to the right, closer to the corner
Well, that
instead
was
of
fast.
center. And he's on it, man. He's like, I'm gonna try it. And that's the thing, guys. You need to be able to try to play with this stuff because just because you put it where it looks good doesn't mean it measures the best. And if you can
No.
measure it, that'd be even better. But sometimes you can definitely hear a
So
difference already.
one thing I want to bring up here is be very careful about subjectivity.
Mm-hmm.
This is why measurement mics and stuff are so important, is because you may have it in one location.
Correct.
You may move it, and your conscious may make you believe that because you think it's going to be better, that
Sure.
it is better. So just be very careful about your subconscious creating
Get a mic.
a bias
Yeah.
because you think there should be one,
Yeah.
or
And the other
creating a
thing
difference
too,
because you think there should be one.
so the other thing too is you may move it 2 foot and you may have a lot more output at 50 hertz,
Mhm.
but now you may have a really like no bass at all at 30 hertz.
Yep.
So unless you can see what that chart and that graph is doing,
He says
you're
he
still
ordered
kind of
one.
guessing.
My man.
You rock, dude. Seriously. So I think you'll enjoy it. It's
Let
definitely a
us
lot
know
of
how things go. I'm
yeah.
excited for you.
Yep.
The whole new world.
Yep. I agree.
Whole new
Oh,
world.
I was about to sing too. All right. And go co-have. I don't know what that means. Could have. Anyway,
I
help
don't
me
know.
interpret that. I'm
I don't
not
know.
sure.
Co-have maybe he already has that.
I
He
haven't
already
yet.
he
Maybe
already
that's what
has his 7600 or yeah,
okay.
the 760H.
Speakers are good or go Clips Reference Premiere. Honestly, I like the Clips Reference Premiere. I have only had one Yamo system and I didn't really like it. I bought it used off Craigslist but again, it wasn't my favorite. That's just me. Again,
But don't go chasing things thinking that buying new speakers is going to make things magically sound better.
Could be your room. But if I had the choice, I would pick Clips Reference Premiere. I like their sound, but that's just me. Is burn-in a problem with projectors? No.
No.
Bobby says, any advantage to Purify monoblocks compared to Purify multis? Have
No.
Martin Logan 13s?
Nope.
No benefit there.
Nope.
Justin Baker thinking of getting an RSL 12S, replacing that at the front of the room and stacking my puny Sony. Man, get rid of the Sony on top of the old Logitech sub behind my couch. Be good or mix. Yeah, I don't
Get
think
rid of the Logitech sub and the Sony.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Maybe if he's using the Sony as a near field and he's just trying to get some low end rumble right behind his seat, but I would get rid of him.
Sony's never. I mean, I get it. We all have to start somewhere. I'm telling you, guys, if your budget is super, super low, look at the used market. There are some crazy, crazy youth man deals out there. I bought 15-inch subwoofers that would spank a Sony, spank a Logitech,
spank an RSL 12.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one, so I didn't.
It's the RSL 12S is a good entry level sub.
Okay, but I mean, I've gotten let's say for instance a Velodyne subwoofer for $125, a nicer Velodyne subwoofer with a 2500 watt continuous amplifier, 15-inch, in a piano black finish. I think I paid $250 for that. So these are super affordable on the used market. So I just think there's some great things out there, but Sony definitely doesn't. It's not really adding a lot.
Sony can do some great things, but they are not known for their subwoofers.
Yeah, subs are not, and Logitech especially. They're good for computer speakers, but that's about as far as I would take
RSL 12S is going to be a big improvement.
Cool. JSIL 36. I've got a JVC X590R. So that's the older one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about upgrading to the NP5 or the Epson LS12000. Which one would you guys recommend? So we kind of talked about that earlier. Epson has better motion.
Brightness, motion.
JVC is going to have better black levels.
Tone
Epson's going to
mapping.
be a little bit brighter.
Your 590R's lock-on time for HDMI negotiations is horrific. Anything is going to be an upgrade over that.
Okay.
But
So
the 590R probably is going to have much better contrast.
Okay. Then the MP5?
It'll be better. It may not be noticeable.
Okay.
This is what we noticed in January. Remember that, where we were putting the
that was
420 up against the NZ8 and the 420 was winning, and we were like,
Yeah.
what is going on? And it was because it had better
We
contrast.
kept testing it. We're like, wait, something's got to be wrong. This thing is actually, it looks really stinking good.
It did, but it was because it was on a 100-inch screen. They were smaller. It had the light output to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But it was also having its tone mapping done by MadVR. So
Correct.
tone mapping on the MP5 way better than the 590R. Way better.
Yeah, it was
So
garbage.
both of them are going to be improvements. The differentiating factor here is, do you need the extra light because you have a big screen? Do you game a whole lot? That motion may be better. If neither of those are true, NP5. If either of those are true, LS12000.
Yeah.
I can help you with both.
Yeah.
Let me know.
So question down here, Tito says, so I can order the JTR RS1s through you guys. Yeah. Ryan is a authorized dealer for
many
JTR.
things.
Yep. So if you guys need anything, reach out to him. We both get the email. And then that way we can kind of communicate with you guys. I'm not a dealer, but Ryan is. And so we both are just passionate about helping people. So if there's something that you need, he is the man. He'll guide you in the right direction.
Yep.
And we'll be glad to jump on a call together with you.
Yep. And even though JTR is direct, I do have access to their stuff.
JP, any recommendations for an audio calibrator in Dallas for a synthesis 9.2.4 system?
JP, I will be down in Dallas, in Texas in December. I may be able to make something work.
Shoot him an email.
I don't know what your system is, but we can see if we can work something out.
Shoot him an email. Did you kick Jonathan off for getting all the questions? Yeah.
We banned him from the channel.
I told him he can only come on every other show, so he doesn't hog up the. He had family obligations tonight, man. He's doing great. He's doing great. Always love having Jonathan on. All right, and I think we're gonna wrap up with this question here. So Tito, oh yeah, we already did that one.
But this is actually a good one to.
Go ahead.
Not that one.
Yeah, you can
this
check
one.
Let me see. So basically, I just have to buy stuff and see how it sounds. Seems like nobody can tell you what to get unless money isn't an issue.
Oh, I can tell you what to get. It's just you may think that it's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll be able to show some, like when we do the projector shootout and stuff, be able to show you empirical data that'll help you make those decisions and let you know why we recommend something.
I mean, what would I buy? Projector. I'll just go through some stuff. I'll tell people right now. Projector, JVC.
Go ahead.
So projector, JVC.
I agree.
Source device, Kaleidoscape. If you're more worried about money, NVIDIA Shield, Apple TV. They both do things differently on each app. So my advice is to always get both. AVR, money, no object, Storm. Money is an object, Denon, with the options that and specifications and things that check all your boxes, channel count, input, output, that kind of stuff. Get the one that makes sense for your system. Amplifiers, Buckeye, HyperX or Purify, doesn't matter. Some type of streamer, excuse me, Blue Sound node. If you need like an AVR with only two channels or 2.1, Blue Sound power node. Speakers, end all be all is going to be the Ascendo Black Swan. No question. As far as speakers in the room, I'm going to stick with Ascendo for their coaxials. Subs, JTR, any of them, fantastic. Screens, Seymour or Stewart. I think they're both fantastic, and it's just going to depend on what type of situation you find yourself in and what manufacturer makes which screen. TVs, I'm personally partial to the cost for performance that LG offers with their C line and G line. Sony's got good stuff. There's stuff that's going to be further down in the budget, but I've just been partial to the LG OLEDs. That's what I find checks a lot of boxes. What am I missing? What haven't I talked about? Furniture,
yeah.
Valencia, probably. I've got a ton of different options. Racks, Mountworks. What else is in my rack? Power distribution, Furman or Panamax would be my go-to for those. Control. There's no real good control right now.
What about speaker wire? Interconnects. You like
speaker wire, Monoprice.
That's where I go.
If you wanted to spend a little bit of money, Mogami. HDMI, Bullet Train. At this point, I don't really have a good one for control. People are saying Ava, but I've never used them.
Yeah, the Ava still, that's definitely not consumer programmable. So
what else? Did I miss anything? Have I covered everything?
Yeah. Subwoofers and tactile transducers.
Buck kicker.
Croson?
Or Croson. Either's good.
Depends on what your budget is.
So that's my opinion, what you should get.
Tango, we actually stopped checking. I mean, we've gotten a bunch of questions. We were trying
I
to
stopped
keep it
because I got a 7 a.m. flight, which means I got to leave for the airport at 4:30.
Yeah, you still got to pack and put his clean underwear in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. So we did answer your question. No, that was Tango. Yeah. So I'm not sure. Yeah. Save it for next Sunday. How about that?
So Bandito, hopefully that answers your question. I'll happily tell people what to get. I just try to be impartial because I don't want to come across as like, this is what you have to get.
Sure.
But I do have my objective favorites of what I would do.
Look at there, man. Ike says he'll fire up the grill. I can cook some mean chicken, man. I stayed with
I'm not supposed to be in Dallas. I think I'm supposed to be in Austin. It's just I'm going to be in Texas.
All
so
right.
for the calibration, I may be able to stop in Dallas and then head to Austin.
Gotcha. Super cool, man. Well, we are at 1 hour and 47. I know Ryan's got an early flight. Hopefully Jonathan will be back with us next week. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show. If you do, give us a little thumbs up on your way out. Hope you guys have a blessed week. We'll catch you in the next stream next Sunday. Take care, guys.